So Tesla stock yet again sold off heavily today, which is aligned with what I've been saying in my previous videos on YouTube if you guys have been watching them. Now today we got bad press for Tesla stating that they have been exaggerating on the range of their vehicles for a while now. However, if we take a look at the overall market, we see that the overall market sold off as well, which tells you that it wasn't just this bad press that caused Tesla stock to sell off today. Now in the Push and Profit private group today, at 9:29 a.m. I called out a trade idea for Amazon saying I'm looking to get 127 puts after Amazon is greater than $132.45 for an entry. And if we take a look at Amazon stock today, it pretty much hit our entry twice, with the second one selling off tremendously, where if you would have taken that trade idea, you would have been up over 900% today alone. So if you guys are interested in getting my daily trade ideas as well as my overarching views on the current state of the market and the economy, make sure to check out the links in the description below, because the first link is going to be a link for the Push and Profit private group where you have access to the Discord. But with that said, I want to go ahead and hop into my laptop and have us just kind of take a look at Tesla from a different perspective and cover a couple of things that we're seeing going on in the overall markets. Alrighty, so we are officially in my laptop and we're taking a look at Tesla stock from a weekly time frame right now. Now, one of the things that I really take pride in on this channel is just reinforcing the fact that you want to look at several different data points when it comes to understanding the markets, right? And so with that said, a lot of the individuals that you watch on YouTube that cover Tesla stock or Tesla, right, they have a very one-dimensional view, right? They may only talk about the charts, or some of them only cover Tesla news. For example, in the beginning of this video, I mentioned how there was bad press about Tesla. Let me go ahead and show you guys. There was allegations showing that Tesla has really kind of overextended what their promises on, EV ranges, and then also that there was a secret department created to go ahead and, deny services from individuals who made these complaints. And, while all this is obviously a bad catalyst event, a lot of the people that you watch on YouTube may kind of just say, oh, well, that's the reason Tesla stock, fell down tremendously today. If you go ahead and see, that was pretty much FUD, and, that's the reason Tesla fell down 5%. And while I will agree with them that that article and that bad press for Tesla is FUD, it's not the reason why Tesla has fallen down this heavily today. For example, as I pointed out earlier in this video, we saw a similar reaction to the overall market. We saw the S&P 500 fall down. Let's go ahead and map that out for us as well. At the close to the open, about 1.5%, which is, a big move for the S&P 500 index ETF SPY. And so we're seeing, the overall market sell off aggressively. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back into Tesla, but I want us to take a look at the SPY. And if we take a look at things from a technical perspective, we see that we're kind of at this area where we're at a resistance. But you guys know that when it comes to trading or investing, I don't just only look at the charts. I don't only just look at the technical signals. I look at several different data points, as I mentioned earlier. Now, what are some things that we're seeing with Tesla? Well, if we take a look at the technical things, yeah, we hit this descending trend line. We're getting rejected. And then also I mentioned how there's very little volume by price right around over here. So if there's a lot of selling pressure, where we're going to have big red days until we go to an area where there's a lot of volume by price, where that's when we have a lot of people, buying and selling, and that causes consolidation. But that's all just a technical approach for Tesla. What are we seeing from a fundamental standpoint, right? Well, we're getting a lot of earnings, right? And we're seeing a lot of hits, but we're also seeing a lot of misses, right? We had a lot of big tech companies recently report their earnings. And, one of the things I mentioned in yesterday's video is that when it comes to earnings, it's not just if a company beats its earnings expectations, but it's also the forward guidance and also where the valuation is on the stock. So to kind of just briefly go over that in a very quick manner, right? One of the things I mentioned is that, for example, a company beating its earnings estimates isn't that great, especially when a lot of the earning estimates have been revised downwards, right? If, Wall Street is expecting revenues to go down and they revise the, earnings to go down, but then the stock beats it, Well, yeah, it beat its earnings, but it beat it after it was already revised down. That's one thing to consider. Something else I mentioned in yesterday's video is that when we take a look, let's go ahead and pull up the QQQ, which is a NASDAQ index ETF, and we see that the overall NASDAQ has been rallying up. And we know the NASDAQ is very tech weighted, right? So a lot of the, big tech mega cap stocks, right? So, the 7 stocks, Apple, Google, Nvidia, Meta, I know I'm missing a few, but all those stocks that have rallied up, right? Well, what happens when you rally up this hard? You need the valuations to justify the prices. And so in yesterday's video, I mentioned how if we have, let's say hypothetically, a stock that is trading at $500, but then the earnings come out and it beats earnings, but the valuations kind of suggest that it should really be trading at 460. Well, that's still not good, because that means that, the stock is overvalued to its intrinsic, actual value, right? So that's another thing you have to consider. Now, of course, there's more nuance to that, but to just oversimplify, those are the two things that I mentioned in yesterday's video. But, going back into Tesla stock, so we're seeing things look bad from a technical aspect. We heard, in Elon Musk's last earnings call kind of provide this bad forward guidance stating that, hey, we're going to have production stifle going into the third quarter because we're going to be revamping our facilities, our global factories, right? And of course, Wall Street is like, oh no, well, you guys are, going to have to slow down on producing cars. That's not good, right? And one of the things I've highlighted is that Wall Street's very myopic. They look at things quarter to quarter, right? And so here's the good thing for individuals who are able to, invest in Tesla. Hold on, I'm getting a call. For individuals who are able to invest in Tesla long term, right? One of the things is being able to understand the discrepancy between price and value and understand the opportunities that we can exploit. Yeah, maybe the third quarter for Tesla may not be the greatest, right? But going forward, I think, of course, there's some economic challenges that I also want to talk about. But going forward in the long term, I'm suggesting, 2025 and beyond to 2030, one of the good things about Tesla upgrading their factories and adding more gigapresses is that actually helps Tesla fulfill its long-term goal of delivering more cars. So yeah, in the short term, the quarter may not be the greatest, and Wall Street doesn't like that. But if you're investing in the long term for Tesla, well, hey, yeah, we're going to have a few hiccups down the road, but it's actually preparing us to really do well going beyond. And so this is actually a great buying opportunity for Tesla for the long term. Now, I know I confuse a lot of individuals when I talk about, the overall markets, because I talk about it from two different perspectives. Someone who's investing long term, but also someone who's trading in the short term, right? Because I have a long-term investing portfolio where I pretty much just buy and hold. It's mainly index funds, but I also have individual stocks like Tesla. And then I have a separate trading account where I trade stocks, where, we'll do trades like what we did with Amazon today, where we took advantage of this massive selling opportunity, right? We see very little volume by price here. And what happens when there's very little volume by price and there's selling pressure? Well, it's going to fall down rapidly, right? So, just to clarify that, and I'm sorry I'm going off tangent, but going back into Tesla, one of the things I've been saying in my previous videos, if you have been watching, which by the way, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, is that yeah, we're going to experience some pain, but I want to see what Tesla does as we get closer to this, early $200 level. Now, is it guaranteed that Tesla's going to hit this area? No, it's not guaranteed, right? Because obviously something could come out the blue, obviously in the market, and cause Tesla stock to rally up. We know that, right? Prices move randomly, and there's a lot of different variables that could influence the prices, right? So you can't just predict, oh yeah, it's going to go down here, right? It's maybe in the short term, but in the long term, yeah, it's not as easy, right? So what am I saying here? Well, we're seeing a lot of selling pressure going on in Tesla. We know that there's very little volume by price. We know that right now we're seeing a lot of earnings kind of miss. And so we see that the overall market's selling off. Now, if Tesla goes down to this area, I want to see, does it hold up? Because we know that this in the past has been a resistance, it's been a support. And so if Tesla touches this area and starts, consolidating and then shows confirmation of bouncing upwards, well, that's where I want to go ahead and add more into my portfolio, right? Now, people invest differently, right? I like to invest when there's a lot of selling and then confirmation of an uptrend, right? And I talk about confirmation in a recent video I uploaded, which I'll go ahead and link in the comment section below. But there's also individuals who dollar cost average differently, where they just simply add a fixed amount equally every month, and that's completely fine as well, right? You know, there's different approaches. Of course, there's economists and just several different research papers kind of breaking down which one's better. I like to favor in putting a lump sum, but that's just my personal preference, right? You're gonna have to do whatever you find, you know, better for your current situation. I'm not a financial advisor who could advise you on your specific, you know, situation, right? That's who you go to, an advisor, to go ahead and talk about that, right? But you know, it's just going to provide a lot of buying opportunities if we continue selling offward, if you're, you know, optimistic of Tesla in the long term. Now in the short term, you know, I mentioned that, you know, this is going to be a great opportunity to start shorting, especially when we have these big days with Tesla, right? Especially when we take a look at the S&P 500, and we're seeing almost what could be perceived as a double top pattern, right? Where we have these massive peaks and we're kind of seeing a lot of rejection around this area. Now again, I don't like to just conform to only looking at patterns in the stock market. I like to look at several different data points. So of course, even if I see a double top, that doesn't mean that it's just, you know, going to have prices capitulate just because there's a simple pattern, right? There's definitely more nuance when it comes to understanding the way the market moves. But, you know, that's just one thing that we're noticing. Hey, you know, the market has rallied up significantly and now it's looking like it's starting to cool off. And so we're seeing, you know, a lot of different stocks, especially in the Dow Jones, rally and have great streaks. And we're seeing tech kind of cool off. Now, again, we still have a few more earnings that are going to be coming up from a few more giants that we're going to want to pay attention to and parse through, especially because we want to get an update on AI from a lot of these AI companies, especially because a lot of these tech companies, including Tesla, has benefited tremendously off the buzzword of AI. But we also want to pay attention to cloud computing and chips and etc. There's a lot more to go ahead and parse through as far as the earnings start rolling in. But as of now, it looks like Tesla is, you know, kind of selling off heavily right now. And so we're going to want to monitor that. Now, I want to keep this video short, sweet, and concise. I don't want to really overwhelm you guys. If you guys want access to, again, my daily briefings where I talk about in more details what's currently going on and I provide my daily trade ideas like what we saw with Amazon, again, that's going to be the first link in the description below. And with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to go ahead and comment down some other videos you should watch in the comment section below. And I'll also see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.